Well, you all, I am going to, right now, it's early in the morning, probably like around 6:30, and I'm going to at least start installing the installation on the walls. And so I'm going to get in here. I need to air out because some Freon got loose yesterday in the basement. And so I just want to air out, not yesterday, actually like 2 days ago. And so it's going to be a very nice day this morning. So I'm going to go and open up all the blinds. I got my hair covered up because I'm going to be dealing with insulation. I'm going to go in, grab my materials that I need. I am going to get this mosquito out. You all deal with mosquitoes where you are? But yeah, I am going to open up all the blinds so I can get some natural air, get the music going. And the goal today is to get this R-13 installation installed on the walls. I actually have about 30 rolls that I paid for. I only picked up 16, so let's check it out, see how this goes. about, man, it's hot under this fast. One. 2. When you buy insulation, there are various widths. And so typically you can get it 16 inches on center, meaning these studs from center to center, 16 inches on center. Or you can make them 24 inches on center, which means from stud to stud, that means this cavity would be a little bit longer. And so what I have in this house is 16 inches on center. But because I had to support, let me show you, over here, where you see this wood right here, I had to add an extra brace to hold the joist up there at the top. So when you look at this insulation, you will see that I had to compress this inside this cavity, this wall cavity, which typically you don't do that, because when you press and compress insulation, that means that it loses its R value. And when we talk about R value, that's the amount of insulated, I don't know how to describe it, but it's the higher the R value, the more insulated that area is. Let me put it like that. And so typically they go by wall thickness or the width. And so here you have a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches wide. And so when you get this insulation, you will see that it's actually, once you unroll it, it unrolls to about 3.5 inches wide. So that way it completely fills this cavity. Now you do have some homes that instead of using 2x4 walls, they use 2x6 walls. And when they use 2x6 walls, now it comes out more, right? And so when you go up in R value, when you have R11, R15, and R-13, that's a 3.5 inch thickness made to fit the width or the thickness of this 2x4 stud that's on the wall. Sometimes what homeowners do is they say, okay, well, I want to get an R19 or R21 because the higher the R value when you buy the rolls, the more insulated it is. But what happens is they have to press it in, because remember, it's made, when you go to the higher R values, it's made for wider joists or wider wood or wider framing. And so a lot of times they get it and they compress it, but when they compress it, it loses its R value. So unfortunately here, because my center line from stud to stud is no longer 16, it's now down to 14, I have to compress this in. Now what you saw me do was, you saw me just take the insulation and I just laid it in the cavity so it's off the floor. That's pretty much what I did. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to come back, and each one of these had what's called a tab. So there's actually a paper tab here, and you can do it either two ways. Some construction projects, they like to staple it right here on the facing of the stud. They like to overlap them on the facing of the stud. Sometimes they like to staple it on the inside of the stud, so that way it doesn't interfere with the drywall. So what I have to do is I have to press this in, and I'm going to staple it on the side of the stud because I need as less interference with the drywall as possible, because I'm already dealing with an old house. I'm dealing with the fact that some of the joints and stuff may not be straight because it's due to settling. And so what I need to do is, the only thing is I'm compressing it this way, which loses its R value, which is okay because the size that's being compressed in is really not used. They are, but they're not. It's the center part which leads to the actual outside part of the wood. That's the part that I'm trying to protect the insulation from coming through. And so what you'll see me do next is you'll see me go through and staple. Okay, now let's go down here to the kitchen area. In the kitchen area, I did not have to support the studs. And so you will see that this 16 inches wide actually fits right inside this cavity. It fits right inside that cavity without smashing it. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. It lays flatter. I can staple to the side of the stud here, or I can staple it on the inside, which I'm going to go back and staple it on the inside. Okay. Now, another thing that I have to keep in mind are the outlets. And so let's go over here because it's up a little bit higher. So I have outlets throughout this wall. And when it comes to the outlets, I'm not going to staple those. Here it is right here. Because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take this insulation, and I'm actually going to split the insulation. So I'm going to actually cut around it so it sits flush, and therefore the outlet is raised out. Now, when it comes to the ones that's on this wall, the ones that's down lower, first off, this cavity is not even nowhere near 16. So I'm going to have to cut those pieces and actually insert there, as well as the bottom and the top. But when it comes to these outlets that's over here, let's see if the camera could pull it up. All right, so when it comes to this outlet over here, what's going to end up happening is I'm not going to staple the bottom part. I'll cut around it, I'll split this, and I'll take this insulation and tuck behind that box. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to come back through and start stapling.